Dickerson, Walter Payton, Marcus Allen, and Tony Dorsett are all legitimate contenders. However, in the previous decade, the choice was a little more clear-cut. In 1973, O.J. Simpson became the first back to run for over 2,000 yards in a single season. Between 1967 and 1979, he rushed for 11,236 yards, placing him sixth on the all-time list. And just last year, the Juice was inducted into Pro Football's Hall of Fame.
In 1979, O.J. Simpson played his 10th and final NFL season as a member of the San Francisco 49ers. However, at 32 years of age, the juice no longer flowed through a defense like before. Simpson stumbled into secondaries he once danced around and was soon buried beneath the rubble of the rebuilding 49ers. Finally, with the magic drained from his legs, O.J. Simpson bid farewell to the game that had been his life.
I want to tell you that over the years, I've heard your applause and I appreciated your cheers. And I want you to know that I already know it's what I'm going to miss most. Thank you all very much.
The roar of the crowd had been a part of the Simpson legend since he burst into the national spotlight at the University of Southern California. In 1967, Simpson led the Trojans to a national championship, then ran away with a Heisman Trophy in 1968. In 1969, the Buffalo Bills made him the NFL's #1 draft choice. And though playing in frigid upstate New York did not excite this Californian, O.J. was warmed by his reception.
Yeah, there was quite a few people there. I was pretty surprised. I didn't think anyone knew I was coming in. It was pretty late at night, about 11:30 if I recall. And when I got to the airport, I was just real casually with some bell bottoms, just a regular shirt on. And when I got off the plane, the mayor, the queen of the city, and a couple of thousand fans was there, and I was really surprised.
I came out of college, I realized that they were expecting a lot of me, and I was prepared to give it. I wanted the ball.
Surprisingly, though, number 32 didn't carry the ball very often or very far because Buffalo's coaches used Simpson more as a decoy. When his number was called, the pressure to produce instantly seemed to obstruct his natural instincts. For 3 seasons, most believed that the Heisman jinx had claimed another victim. But in 1972, Buffalo hired a coach who knew how to break this spell.
Well, the turning point in my career was obviously when Lou Saban came to Buffalo. Lou had always been a coach who was in favor of the run. More important, Lou brought some stability to the organization because he featured me. He made no bones about it when he came in, and I led the league in rushing.
Lou Saban hitched Buffalo to this rising rocket, and O.J. Simpson propelled the Bills into a winning orbit. O.J.'s instinctive feel for open space led him through the dangers of a broken field, and an entire defense was more likely to grow weary and lose its concentration before this seemingly tireless athlete.
As the game goes on, you get tired and you stop thinking so much and you start reacting. It's like putting things in that computer. You just push a button, you get the ball, and you go. I found that once the game got on and I got tired and I wasn't thinking, I was just reacting, and I would react to things sometimes even before they happened. The great runners will run a mile ahead, like pilots fly a mile ahead. They don't run, they don't gear their running, or they don't pay much attention to the guy in front of them because they know where that guy is. They're thinking about what the guy beyond that should be doing or where he is.
Every great runner has a certain way of running the ball, which is his signature. This is how O.J. Simpson signed his way into history in 1973. The Juice opened with what was then an NFL single-game rushing record of 250 yards against New England. By mid-season, he had surpassed 1,000 yards. And though defenses were geared to stop only him, Simpson was rapidly approaching 2,000 yards. With one game remaining, Simpson still needed 200 yards to complete this odyssey. In snowbound Shea Stadium, the New York Jets were determined to hold off destiny. But they proved to be no match for Simpson's relentless assault into history.
O.J. running left. O.J. 5 more. Maybe more. I don't know. Maybe 6. There it is.
At 2,003 yards, Simpson stood alone on the summit.
That last game was not quite over, and I went into the locker room, and they still had 2 or 3 minutes to play, and I was the only guy in that locker room, and I've never felt like that. I can't recall feeling like that any other time in professional football.
Though he set many NFL records, there was more to Simpson's game than yardage. Every time number 32 touched the ball, it was the beginning of a unique adventure, a classic in cleats. Other runners have now run farther and scored more touchdowns, but none have ever played with more style and class than this graceful halfback. In 1985, O.J. Simpson was voted into the Hall of Fame, a distinction that confirmed his place in the history of the National Football League.
Football teams design uniforms with the same painstaking care of a Bill Blass, a Halston, or a Calvin Klein. Excessive time and money are spent on color combinations, materials, and design patterns. Now, the NFL's desire to look good has dated back to the league's early years. However, some of the uniform decisions